Hey guys, so we've got something different here today. So when you're on the internet, one of the biggest complaints from people is that they can't stand their lawn spreader. So what I'm going to show you here is what is actually the world's most expensive lawn care spreader available. So first question you're going to want to know is how much does it cost? So the retail on this spreader is $1,200 US. Now this spreader is known under different names. In the United States, it's known as the SR2000. In England and overseas, it's known as the SR2000 or the AccuPro 2000. A lot of people in England love this spreader. You're going to find this spreader on golf courses. Some lawn care professionals in the US use these extensively. So when you're first looking at this, you're going to think that it doesn't really look that different than a regular spreader, but it is. I'm going to take you through the features and explain why this spreader is so expensive. So before I even get started, I want to clear up one thing. I did not pay $1,200 for this spreader, but a lot of people have. So I was very lucky. I actually found this spreader at a yard sale. They wanted $150 and it needed some repairs. I had to get a few new parts for it. I probably spent about $80 on it, but as you can see, it really is in fantastic condition now. So I always dreamed to get one of these spreaders for that kind of money, but I never would have spent it. So for me, I'm into it about maybe $200, $250, so it's a real bargain. So without further discussion, and maybe you'll find one of these used as well, I'm going to show you what makes this spreader a little bit different and why people keep paying this much money for this spreader. So one thing you might also have noticed is that the brand on this is not Scott's. The brand is actually the Andersons. So the Andersons is actually a fertilizer company, but they also make equipment, and they were the company that I believe invented this spreader originally. The Andersons is a huge company, and they manufacture some of the best fertilizer products that are used by professionals, the golf course industry, and a lot of anything that does any sort of turf management they make. They also do plenty of products for crops as well. So other features that are pretty cool about this spreader is the build quality is awesome. So just like the Lesco, this is all stainless steel. This isn't stainless steel, but the rest of this is. And there's a few non-stainless parts, but the finish of this metal is just great, and it's really thick, which most people have said these tend to last a long time. The other thing you'll notice right away is that this is just a simple design with basically an extended cotter pin. So as you rotate, you're going to get a rotation. So any of the guys out there that own the Lescos are familiar with the add-on kit that Permagreen made. And that kit has a big bar that will brush the material. But to my knowledge, that kit doesn't fit this machine. And most people don't complain about this at all. So even though this design's pretty simple, it seems to work just fine. Another really cool feature on this that unfortunately Lesco got rid of. So as most people know, the Lescos have a side discharge chute, but it's nothing like this. So if I back up a little bit so you can see this, if I go to the control, to activate the side shield, so when you're edging near a pool or any kind of object that you don't want to spread, this is really nice. So first I'll show you the action and then I'll show you how it works. So you just push this down and it locks in, and that's really great stainless steel. And to undo it, you lift it up. So down. And to show you the action, so that door, I believe, is stainless steel as well. And you can see how well made that is. So this is very different than the Lesco. If you're familiar with the Lesco, when you want to put the deflector shield on, it's a real pain. It has a rod that sticks straight up, and when you pull it, it tends to snag, and a lot of times it gets stuck and then people bend it. So in my opinion, I love this shield. I think it's really great. There's supposed to be a little rubber boot here, but it must have come off at some point. It doesn't seem to be a problem for me. So this shield works really well. The other thing I like about it is because this is a piece of metal, if I accidentally leave it on, which I certainly have done, you can really hear it. It almost sounds like rain on a tin roof. So it's a pretty cool little feature. So when you put your side shield down, so now we're blocked. As everybody knows, if you were to just use it just like this, you'd spread too much material because you need to close this third opening, because if you don't, there's too much material for too small of a spread area. So Lesco used to have a remote control, and they eliminated that as an accessory, and you really can't get them anymore. But fortunately on the SR2000, they've kept that accessory, and that's this knob right here. And if you notice, this is really convenient, and it even says open enclosed, which actually is nice because once that bin is filled with material, you really can't tell anymore if that is open or closed. So right now we're in the open position, so I'm going to just simply push this to close, open. So that's very nice. Now again, I'm not a professional, but if I was using this all day long, that's a great feature. Now the number one spreader on most professionals is the Lesco 80-pound stainless steel spreader. You will see that spreader everywhere, but if you look in the lawn care forums, you're going to find out that people are going to tell you that that spreader is not that accurate. So the number one reason that people spend the money for this spreader is its accuracy, because it has one feature that no other spreader has because they have a patent on it, and that feature is right here. So everybody's got one of these, obviously, to spread the material, but this is what I'm talking about. So this is called the disbursement cone. You can see that there's numbers on the cone. And what's very unique about this spreader and really makes it pretty amazing is as you adjust this cone, the pattern of the spread that comes out of the spreader actually changes. And a lot of professionals love this because you can do it while you're spreading. So if your material is a little bit heavier or lighter, you can get the pattern exactly the way you want. So what that means is that a lot of times if you go by the settings on a bag, you're just not going to get the pattern that you want, and you could get too much fertilizer or too little. But with this patented cone design, what happens is the material falls out, hits the cone, and it somewhat blends it a bit, and it puts it in a way that it will actually counteract what would normally happen in a spreader, which is you might actually fire the material to one side or favor one side. So a lot of the Lesco guys have all kinds of tricky ways to counter that, but they don't all work. And when you find people who own these, they're generally going to tell you that they are the most accurate in terms of being even. I've even noticed that I was never really one of those people that was great with a spreader. I would tend to overlap and mess it up, but since I've used this, I've noticed that my results have been much better. So as we get to the most important part of any spreader, which is how does it spread, what we need to do is understand how to control how much material we're putting down. So in the Anderson's SR2000 or Scott's SR2000 spreader, you have a different kind of setup here. You have to do it with the door closed or the intake door closed, and you loosen this knob. It's very easy to do, and you can slide this back and forth. And I'll try to get you a shot under here. You'll notice that there's a small arrow. So as I slide over, we'll set it to O. Maybe why don't we do P? I'll tighten that up. And now when we open our door, you'll see there's quite a bit more opening. So it works very well. It's very different than most spreaders though. So some people this may take a little getting used to, and as far as what do these letters mean, well, they don't mean much. So you have to look online because there are some cheat sheets that'll tell you, but in terms of my practical use, when I've used about the L to M setting, that's going to be about 4 pounds per 1,000 square feet. So I've used this spreader to do grass seed, I've used it to do lime, I've used it to do humic acid, and so far everything I've done has worked really, really well, and it's been super accurate, and it feels like it's done a great job to me overall. To give you a lower shot of this, you'll notice that the gearbox is completely enclosed. It's not waterproof, and it uses kind of a simple set of squeeze rings. You have one here, one there, and a third there. So when I purchased this, the front box on here, which is just kind of a, I'd say it's an ABS plastic, was cracked. Surprisingly, the entire cover was only about $7. So parts for this are unbelievably reasonable. And I was very nervous because when I went to order them, I was afraid the parts were going to cost me more than I had paid for the whole spreader. Zoom in here, you have grease fittings on both axles. And that heavy-duty stainless construction continues down here. One of the other parts that I decided to replace, I actually replaced this entire the auger assembly and also the gears, and again the total of that was very reasonable. I was able to buy this piece as a unit, both covers and the entire gearbox for about $25. And if you own other brands of spreaders, they're really hard to get anyway. I found that Earthway did a great job supplying the parts, and they came within just about a week, and everything fit perfectly and the quality had stayed the same. So another important part with any spreader, especially a spreader of this cost and quality, is going to be calibrating it. So the Anderson's SR2000 does it a little bit differently. So they give you this little plastic key, and this key is a calibration key, and I'll show you how it works. It's actually quite easy to check the spreader. They actually do a great job to make this easy. So all I have to do is remove the screening grid, and I'm going to have the intakes closed. I'm going to go to my adjustment slide here, and I'm going to set this to E. Now we're going to open our gate, and at this point I should be able to take this calibration key, and it's got a curved side and it's got a flat side, and that is actually going to fit into this opening, and we're going to push this in, and actually it's perfect. So this is my final thoughts on the spreader. So I guess the big things as far as a review goes, is it worth $1,200? Well, I think if you were spreading every day, I would say yes, because I think just the remote control feature for the gate, the construction and the build quality, I mean, I give it a 10 out of 10. It really feels very solid. I've personally ordered parts from Earthway, who now runs this in the United States, and they were great. I mean, it's hard to get parts for practically anything nowadays. I was able to call up, I spoke with someone directly, he sent me some diagrams, and I ordered my parts and got them within a week. So I thought that was pretty good. So if I was a professional, yeah, I think it's probably worth the extra money. I know that a lot of people online complain about their Lescos. People have said that they don't last. Their build quality is not what it used to be. I believe they're made in China now. And the product is just not what it once was. So in my opinion, if you're looking for the best spreader you can get and you're tired of spreaders breaking, and you happen to have $1,200 to boot, then I would say that this is probably a great spreader. Now, $1,200 is the retail. I do know that there are some online retailers that sell them for a little bit less, but I think the cheapest you're still going to find one of these is about $800. So I would encourage you to look on Craigslist, search for commercial spreaders, search for any type of spreader that's maybe over $200, and you might be really lucky like I was. This is really a fantastic spreader. So for those people who are done with Lesco, or you really want something that's just a lot better, I would recommend this. I think it's a great product. And if I was doing it for a living, I would definitely want to use this all day. It seems like a fantastic tool that really is built to last a lifetime. So I hope you enjoyed this video. This is a really unusual item. I love to get weird stuff like this. And for this, it's something you can actually use and enjoy in your yard. So it's a pretty cool thing. And if you enjoyed this video, certainly feel free to leave me any comments you like below. I'd also appreciate if you thumbs up this video. And if you enjoy this, please subscribe to my channel. I have lots of other videos on lawn care, home improvement, and all kinds of cool stuff that you might find helpful or useful.